So we've talked a lot about Gitcoin. I know what Gitcoin is. Some of my audience may not know what Gitcoin is. I'd love for you to kind of share high level what Gitcoin is, what you're
Yeah,
doing there, and then I want to get into how you are rethinking what a community is, because I know you have some really interesting thoughts on that.
yeah. So Gitcoin basically creates tools that enable communities to fund their shared needs. Or really, I think we're sort of shifting to this language on like funding and protecting what matters. But essentially, the ambition of Gitcoin is to really bring about a better world that's like enabled by community led positive change. So, like communities really being the ones to change the world. And they can only do that if they have ways to effectively allocate capital and also like effectively, safely allocate that capital. So, like that kind of protection element comes into play there. So, Gitcoin started a while, like 5 years ago, as essentially a bounties platform where open source software developers could come, fulfill a bounty and get paid for it. Because at that point in time, there wasn't a lot of like funding for open source software. So, but the bounty model was like very like transactional and didn't really like create. It wasn't like sustainable. So Gitcoin. Actually, inspired by Vitalik's paper on quadratic funding, uh, they adopted this like quadratic funding model that would allow them to create a grants program or a grants program model that instead of, essentially there's a matching pool that gets raised. And then that matching pool gets distributed based off of not the size of the donations the community received, but the number. So it really favors like the many over the few, right? So if you're a community, you participate in the grants program, you essentially do a crowd fund, right? You get your community to donate. They can donate in as little as like a dollar or whatever. You get them to donate, and then after the round closes, the communities that have the highest number of donors, not necessarily the highest amount, they get a larger size of the matching pool. So again, it's like a really novel mechanism, and Gitcoin has since been exploring other novel mechanisms for funding. We've got a new protocol that is launching called Allo Protocol. It's all about these different allocation mechanisms, and it's built on a series of different smart contracts that really are more closely tied to governance than anything else, but then have these allocation tools incorporated into them. So quadratic voting, quadratic funding, and then we're going to explore additional tools. So there's a really robust kind of product pipeline around enabling communities to allocate these funds and distribute them, whether it's more democratically or just more aligned with their mission and values. That was a little bit long-winded, but basically TLDR, Gitcoin is creating new mechanisms or new tools for communities to fund what matters to them.
How do you go out and market that in a way that people can understand? Because I'm sure you're not going to lead with quadratic voting by Vitalik
Oh,
Buterin.
I'm glad you brought that up, because we have been leading with quadratic funding, and I've
Interesting.
been very like it is the how. It is absolutely the how. It is the magic. Well, not magical. It's very much real. It is the thing though that makes it possible. But what I often say to the team is like, people don't really care about the how. They care about like, what is the benefit to me. So a lot of what I've what we our new campaign is fund what matters, right? Like, what do you care about? Now go out and fund it, and I think that has really hit home with a lot of people. It has the sort of the real, right, the math of the fund mixed with like the magic, which is like the what matters. There's like an emotional connection to that. And then it comes about like, okay, then they're going to ask like, well, but like, not how does it work, but like, how do I do that? And that's where it comes into like the product piece. And we run our biggest product to date has been, or product or whatever it is the grants program. So the program like has had a very different marketing strategy, right? Getting grantees in the door, getting matching pool donors, et cetera. Whereas like the protocol, we have to really break it down, like the what it is, and then we've actually built apps on top of the protocol that sort of sit in between the program and the protocol. And then we'll have to have like specific marketing for those apps. So it's all about like who is the user, and then how do we tailor messages to them. So having a big overarching message, but then having sort of those product level messages. And we're working through that right now. But like it's about getting like really specific around like the benefit, and like how this matters to me. So kind of what I said before, like the save the world, save user time and money. So
Yeah.
thinking about like how we position the products like that is, and we're also working on like new like kind of sub brand initiatives for our protocols as well. So that's all sort of like in play, and I think it's like a a test and learn thing, right? Like we're testing out new tactics, new messages all the time, because what resonates with like the core Web3 regen degen is not what like the UNICEFs of the world are going to care about, and we want them to partner with us too. So we have to sort of it's kind of like titration or triage in a lot of ways, and that's kind of what we're doing on an ongoing basis, both from a marketing as well as from a product perspective. But yeah, so sort of we're evolving. That's what we say. We're always evolving.
Another new term, regen degen. Love it.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I mean the regens are yeah, they're our core, and they're amazing, and yeah, it's a great community. But we are the opportunity, like an allo protocol, the it's just expansive, it's limitless, and it's really about like wanting to get people who want to be creative and imagine uh, new futures. And so we're trying to be more expansive in terms of how we also like talk to people as well.